There we go. Okay. That should be good. Why am I still hearing music? Oh, because I've got the player open. Here we go. All right. Welcome everyone to the roughly monthly Patreon and now YouTube supporter or YouTube channel member, whatever they're calling it. Live Hangout, Q&A Hangout. Oh, I'm noticing my camera's draining really fast here. Yeah, we do these roughly once a month and I answer your questions from... I answer your questions from the post on Patreon and from the live stream. So yeah, let's get onto that. Sorry for the noise. This is, rebuilt the entire computer. It now has a Threadripper and all that. This is my main streaming setup. It wasn't working particularly well on the on the X99, on the 8-core, on the old guy, because it doesn't have enough PCIe lanes. So yes, new setup. It's still a bit chaotic, kind of, more or less. Let's see, OBS is looking fine and dandy. Cool. YouTube is complaining that there might be some buffering, but it should all be rather good and well. All right. And theoretically, I should be able to push this. So for those of you who don't know, fuzzy skin, do I have a fuzzy skin model? Fuzzy skin basically adds noise to the outermost shell of your print. So you have two perimeters and the outermost one just has like a random noise pattern, and it looks kind of interesting. You can almost replicate like a particle filled or wood filled look, like the line, you know, this one. It has a very matte and very, non-technical surface, I guess. And you can kind of replicate that with the fuzzy skin. However, since fuzzy skin is... No sound. What? You guys should be having sound, I'm hoping. Let me know if sound is working. So yeah, you should be having some random noise added with a fuzzy skin feature. And that is back in this view. Back in that view? Oh, the screen capture doesn't have sound. Okay, thanks. I will try to fix that. Right, so fuzzy skin. Let's get back on topic. Creates that noise. I don't know how you could actually create that true random noise in something like Fusion 360. However, you can add textures to your prints. I don't have Fusion 360 installed here, and I think showing it right here would be a bit too much. But what you can do is you can take your sketch and say go to surface and then go a bit beyond that surface. So you'd actually imprint like 0.5 millimeter into your part, and you'd add that to the geometry of your part. You might also have to create an offset surface first to go to that surface then, but it's the same. Yeah, it's the same idea. You basically imprint anything you have in your sketch that might also be an imported SVG or DXF file, as you'd use, well, similar to what you'd use for velocity painting, and you can imprint that. I've been using that for text, and that works really well for text. But again, the texture, I'm not sure how you'd get that. And also, you're going to get like enormous, truly enormous STL files once you export just some random noise. Let me check real quick here what the issue with audio is. This guy, we're gonna have audio, but I'm gonna be way too large, so let's scale myself down. Now that should be good. All right, actually, goodbye. Also, we don't need you. Cool. That should be better. Paul Arden is asking, I have a fume extraction setup for a laser cut and was thinking about using it in my 3D printing enclosure as well for more exotic or filaments with strong odors. However, the same filaments likely don't like drafts either. It would seem impossible to have ventilation without creating drafts and temperature fluctuations, would it not? perhaps it would be better, or it's better to just use the enclosure to contain things, then fire up extraction at the end of printing, or just not bother with this with extraction. So yeah, yes, Stream Deck, by the way, awesome. So fume extraction, kind of important if you're printing something like polycarbonate or ABS. Not only are the fumes, you know, hard on your nose, they smell terrible, they, you know, are not healthy. That's a bigger issue. But yeah, they also like to linger around. So if you've been printing ABS a lot in a room, it's going to smell like ABS for a while. So my take with enclosure, simply because I don't have the means, or for ventilation, because I simply don't have the means to ventilate to the outside, is just to keep everything as tightly contained as possible. As long as you don't have drafts that actually circulate the air from your printer into the room, if you just keep it contained, it's most likely, because it's still fresh, it's going to, you know, stick to the walls of your enclosures and to that stuff, and is not going to leak to the outside. So that has been my approach. But if you can ventilate, I would certainly recommend doing so. Now, I guess the magic bullet to having both an enclosure that keeps temperature in and having some, or not having fumes leak out, is to have a relatively sealed and relatively tight enclosure, and then only use the minimum amount of ventilation that you can get away with. I'm looking at my computer right now because there are 120mm fans in there, and those create a ton of airflow at low pressure. But you don't need nearly as much. All you need, if you have a tight enclosure, is just a minimum amount of vacuum pressure below ambient, but that's going to suck out all the fumes to wherever that goes. It doesn't need to be a ton of airflow, just, you know, tiny little hole that just creates a bit of vacuum in there, basically. So that would be my approach with that. If you have the means to do that, certainly go with it. But if you don't have a fume extractor or any, you know, blowers set up to the outside, just keep it airtight, keep it contained, and that's going to be much better than just printing out in the open. Joel Telling is not asking anything. He's just complaining that he has to get up. Well, 10 a.m. I tried to schedule these streams so that everyone can join. Sorry, Australia. Well, 7. What's the time in New Zealand? They're 12 hours. Well, I don't know. Australia is kind of bone on this, but I tried to schedule these streams in the evening of my time, so that's going to be morning or around noon anywhere in the US. So yeah, I'm hoping that's working out. Paul Arden, again, thanks for the questions, dude. What's the latest on the speaker project? Was great to see a tease in the last stream. Looking forward to it. Will the designs remain? Okay, let's answer that first bit first. The speaker process is going forward. I have them next door. The enclosures are all finished, all painted, all done. They are white, semi-gloss finished. They look fantastic. The parts are all printed. I need to assemble it. I need to solder the crossovers, because they have passive crossovers, at least the left, center, and right speakers. The thing is that the paint process was such a... it was tedious, it wasn't fun, it took a ton of time. It was just not enjoyable, so it took a whole long time, and there have been other things that I've been working on, and stuff that's been getting in the way, and you know how life is. So yes, it's certainly moving forward. I'm at the point now where I can assemble everything and where I can start making videos about them. So yes, stay tuned for that. That project, as I think I mentioned, is sponsored by Adam, and they want to sponsor another project now. So let's see which one gets done first. But yeah, either one that's going to come is a really neat thing. So yes, it's still being worked on. It's just taking way longer than anticipated. Andre is asking, or saying, warm welcome from sunny Cyprus. Bought my Anycubic i3 Mega 2 weeks ago after watching a lot of your videos. I haven't found any complete guide how to calibrate E-steps, PID, flow, temperature, retraction, speed. It's a little bit complicated for noobs. I do have videos on most of those topics on their own. I don't think it makes sense to have like a full guide series just for a specific printer. Simply because there's little value in showing it for one machine and then in half a year's time that goes out of date and something new comes along. So I have videos that I think are still up to date on those specific topics. However, with a Anycubic i3 Mega, which is a complete printer, it's not like a it's not a DIY kit. You get a bunch of parts. It's supposed to be a complete printer. So I would assume that out of the box it should be, E-step should be correct, PID should be correct, flow should be correct, temperature as well, that's going to be depending on filaments, retraction should be in the slicer profile that the manufacturer supplies, and speeds should also be in there. It's one of my big complaints if you're buying or building a cheap printer is like, yeah, that's all part of what you're buying. And if they don't include some of those things, well, yeah, value. You're going to have to do that. Anyway, so E-steps, PID, flow multipliers, those should be set in the firmware. You typically shouldn't mess with those before you get your slicing profile dialed in. So what you typically do with those cheap printers is you find a Facebook community that is just revolving around those specific machines or that specific brand, and somebody will have posted some printing profile that's going to give you a starting point. It might not be perfect. It's definitely not going to be anything that's like official, but you can use that as a starting point and just print with that. Get a feel for printing, get a feel for how the machine works, what sort of designs it likes. Sorry. And then work from that. Don't start tuning in E-steps, PID, flow, etc., before you even know how the printer works, because you're most likely going to be messing more things up than you're going to fix. So that is my biggest advice here. Retraction and speeds. Yeah, just use whatever is default in the slicer. Retraction maybe increase a bit if you get stringing, but otherwise, if you have some default slicing profile, it should be all right. So optimal sequence of calibration, typically, so what I do with a new printer is not a whole lot actually. So if I don't have a slicing profile with it, I just use whatever default you get. I set my PLA temperatures to 210, I set the fan on full blast, and I increase retraction until I get no more stringing, and that's it. There's your printing profile. If anything goes slower than what the slicer recommends, and that's it. You don't need to do a ton of calibration, at least not these days anymore. And then the next part is, bought a few spools from Das Filament. What is the fastest way to find the optimal temperature for new filament, and which parameter I should recalibrate after changing temperatures? So let me see if I have some Das Filament, yeah, here we go. So here's how you calibrate a new filament. You make sure your camera is in focus and you just look at the label, you use those values. Those typically are what you want to be printing with. So type PTG, that's your diameter, obviously. Oh, my finger looks horrible, sorry. Typically, there's only one diameter you're going to use. Then your nozzle temperature, one of the most important settings, 230 degrees Celsius plus minus 10. Start with 230, that's probably going to print really well still. And then your bed temperature at 75 degrees Celsius. Use that. Use those two values and you should get some, maybe not perfect prints, but you're going to get very close to very good prints. Yeah, that's my advice on tuning in a new material. And basically, if you've seen the Phil Wien series, and I think I've done some intro, outro videos to that, how I test stuff, is all I tune in is, do I even tune in retraction? I don't even tune in retraction, but you probably should. I tune in temperatures, both the hot end and the bed, and a flow multiplier, which is typically, if you have filament that is somewhere in the right diameter range, 1.75, what is this, plus minus 0.05 millimeters. That's not a lot of variance this material can have. Typically, your flow multiplier is pretty much even across the printer. So my Mark IIs, they like a plus 5% multiplier. just to get perfect prints. Strength-wise, they're not going to look as good by default or as the default settings do, but that's just something that you can apply pretty much across all materials, except for flexibles. Flexibles are different; they probably need a bit more than that. But extrusion multiplier, you probably do not need to tune. So yes, that is my tuning setup. So just yeah, what is the fastest way to find optimal temperature for new filament? Use what's on the box or use what's on the spool, and unless you're having issues with what's on there, there's no real need to change stuff. Filaments can typically print in a pretty wide range. If you're not happy with the strength you're getting, increase the temperatures. If you're getting like super droopy and super melted looking parts, decrease the temperature and just find a balance. But typically, what's on the box is gonna work. Volker is commenting here, priming, sanding, priming, sanding, priming, sanding, priming, sanding. Yes, yes. It was a lot of that. It was quite a lot of that, and then some more. I went through like 3 or 4 different approaches of priming first and using some filler or some what is it, putty, or what's this stuff called? There's one specific filler that I used, and it's like a ton of different approaches. None of them were like, yeah, plug and play perfect. And then another comment from Chad, the name I cannot pronounce or read, sorry. But it doesn't perform well right out of the box. I already have tuned everything, is the comment right here. And well, some printers, if you've tuned everything and if you know you've tuned stuff in well, it might just be the hardware. If you're buying a cheap printer, you're not going to get the best hardware out there, and it might just not get any better than that unless you start upgrading stuff. So that's just one of the things you might run into. All right, David N is asking about bed adhesion. Or yeah, bed adhesion when printing filaments.ca easy peasy CPE blend on an enclosed Prusa i3 Mark III. Let's actually check this stuff out. Yes, easy peasy CPE. I didn't know you can create a copolyester from polycarbonate and polyester, or PETG basically. CPE is just another name for a PET type. Yeah, dishwasher environment. Let's see, 110 degrees, that sounds like polycarbonate. And they're just recommending 95 degrees. That is actually a very low temperature material for containing polycarbonate. So yeah, this is, probably already a lot better than what you're gonna get with just pure polycarbonate, which is a fantastic material, but it's just, yeah, it can be hard to print. Designing a large box to enclose some mechanical parts, and I'm assuming that's the same David in chat right there. Some mechanical parts that is 400 by 200 by 200. So yes, that is probably going to be split in two because the Mark III does not print that large. Looking for suggestions on how to get good adhesion to print this without warping and failing. There's a center brim and clean bed. PC really likes to stick to PEI, so some adhesion release agent is needed. What would your recommendations be? Okay, general high temperature adhesion to bed topic right there. So polycarbonate is interesting. Even as a blend, it's like you get the settings right and it's the best thing ever, but you get the settings slightly off and it's just a huge pain to deal with. So David is mentioning it's already enclosed. That is the biggest step already done. The enclosure for polycarbonate is necessary. It's absolutely mandatory. Yeah, PI sticks to polycarbonate sticks to PI. I think it would work the other way around too. Yes, that's a good thing. Depending on what bed temperatures you use and extrusion temperatures for the first layer, it might stick to well, which is always an issue with PI. Definitely don't print it onto stuff like BuildTak or some of the Chinese clones or adhesion sheets, because those are polycarbonate. Those are a textured polycarbonate sheet essentially, and it's just going to permanently bond to that. If you do want that amount of adhesion, you can go for that, and you can just use your bed surface as a sacrificial sheet and peel that off with your part, and yeah, just get a perfectly flat part out of that. But you're gonna need a fresh adhesion sheet with every print. Might be an option. But yeah, try the standard adhesives. It's gonna be different from material to material. Maybe don't use them on top of PEI. Well, it depends. If you use something like Magic Glue, which is kind of a very versatile, do I have it here? No, I've got it over there. It's a very versatile adhesive. It really likes to peel off from a PEI sheet. So you're gonna have your part, and you know the entire Magic Glue layer is just gonna come off as soon as you remove the print, or even earlier than that while it's still printing, which would not be too great. So what you can do is Prusa include actually this glue stick. I believe they still included with the Mark IIIs. I think they do, yeah. And basically use this on top of the PEI. This sticks to PEI really well, and either you can print on top of glue stick, standard glue stick also works, print directly onto that, or you use whatever top layer you want to use. So if you want to print onto Magic Glue, put down some glue stick first and then put some Magic Glue over that. It's gonna be messy, but if you get your parts to stick well, it might be worth it. So just experiment. Every material is slightly different in you know how much it warps and what it likes to stick to. Arunas is asking, hi Tom, would it be possible for you to inform Hangout in advance at least 3 to 5 days? Ooh, short notice. Yeah, it's just, I often don't know what I'm doing in 3 to 5 days in advance. I will try to schedule them a bit earlier. It's also like, at what point do I announce them? Do I announce them a week in advance, and then a week later everyone's gonna have forgotten about them? I'll try to announce them earlier. Also, like with this new setup, like I didn't know if this was working, and just, you know, yesterday I got this sort of running. I didn't know if it would be running, so okay, I'll try to announce them a bit earlier. James C. Foley is asking about the Tangerine Orange Metallic, aka the Tom filament from Protopasta, on a Prusa Mark III and Creality. I assume that is a CR10S. What is he doing wrong? All other filaments print fine. So a filament diameter 0.4. So David, that's a good input right there. Blah. Pop up, go away. What is my nozzle diameter, etc.? 0.4 millimeter nozzle on both, so that's the default nozzle those printers come with. Try printing 200 to 235 with standard PLA parameters. So, checked filament diameter. The thing is, I've not had, where is my Tom Orange? It's over there. No, it's right here. I have not had issues printing it. It's just, yeah, it prints like every other PLA, every other material. What is this? This is the, we have here, 1, 2, there we go. This stuff, just take it out of the box here. It's just a PLA. It does have particles in it, so that's a catch. Hoping this isn't too loud. It does have particles in it, glitter particles and stuff. However, it's not even large particles. The gold flakes are, I think, that the largest stuff we have in there, and they're not particularly big in the grand scheme of things. So why is that so dark all of a sudden? I still need to figure this setup out. But yeah, the gold flakes are the biggest stuff in here, and it's more like a gold dust even. So it's not large particles at all. So if you look at something like the Infinity Blue, where you can actually see the flakes with your bare eye, This has particles that are way larger than what's in here. So there shouldn't be any issues printing the the tangerine orange metallic, I think, compared to other, especially compared to other particle filaments. What could that be? I am not sure. So oversized filament, as Andrew is suggesting, too large wriggly if you trouble extruding, jam and act like under extrusion. So if the filament would actually jam, yeah, that could be an issue. However, I've seen this filament being made, and if it ever goes over diameter, the machine just, you know, shouts and screams, and they're not going to use that spool. So Protopasta is, I think, the last company that would make oversized filament and actually ship it. There is a, let me see, and this is regular. This is made on their regular production line, so this isn't any more prototypish than what it get. Do they have diameter specs on here? I think they might have on the website, but I'm actually not sure. The only thing that I could think of, which is highly unlikely, is that there's some sort of dust from the cardboard spool or wherever, because this is cardboard as opposed to a plastic spool, and cardboard does ultimately, if you tear it or if it gets crushed in shipping, might have some dust particles that come off and that get sucked into your extruder or hardened. But other than that, I don't really know what would be different with this versus other filaments. Not really sure about that. Yeah, I'm also not seeing the details from James whether it's clogged extruder. So I'm assuming that is not a clogged hot end, a clogged nozzle. It's just the extruder. So yeah, not exactly sure. Was able to print High Five Blue with no issues. Does High Five Blue have particles in it? I think it does. Cool. Let me give a quick refresh to the page and see if there are any more or newer questions that have popped up here. That's an older one. Ah, yes. Scott, you can also ask in chat. I do have chat open here. Will I be attending Maker Faire New York City? Hey, Luke. Nice to hear of you, but will be attending Maker Faire in New York City next month, or looking forward to any other events? Not for the time being. I've traveled too much. E3D have already invited me to TCT show this month or later this month. I don't think I'll be going. It's just, at some point you've seen it all, kind of. I know TCT is a big one, and there's going to be a lot of new stuff shown, but I'm kind of, I'm still struggling to get a grip on just pumping out regular video content in the way that I used to. I think this first half year of just being everywhere was too much. I'm still suffering from that. I feel like, where it's not, I've lost my rhythm. But yeah, no, I will not be going to TCT or Maker Faire in New York. I might be doing some other traveling later this year, but I think I've quite seen it for events, for at least for this year. Maker Faire Hannover, not sure either. Hannover is like a 6-hour trip roughly. Yeah, 6-7 hour trip, either by train or by car. We'll see. Whether I can fit in Hannover. I'm not sure how large Hannover is, but yes, I will try to tone down traveling. And the next show and event I'm really looking forward to is, Hannover is coming up pretty soon. The next event I'm really looking forward to is actually MRF next year. So the Midwest Rapper Festival, that's the one that I know for sure that I'm going to again. But until then, I'm a bit reluctant to do more of that. I want to make my normal videos. I want to make the good stuff again. And yeah, fairs and events have kind of taken up too much time. So yes, with that, I will. Yeah, unless you guys have any more questions, Let me see. So chat is good. Patreon is all covered. Yes. Yeah. So I guess one more thing to add here is this has been the first live hangout with Patreon and the YouTube join supporters, members. I think they call channel members is like the official terminology. So YouTube now has, and Joel has had that for a while, have carried over Twitch subscriptions from basically what used to be YouTube Gaming, is like a $5 a month, or I think €3.99 a month. Channel membership, so yes, Twitch subscriptions basically. And they've enabled that for my channel as well. And it's basically the same thing that is, this $5 Patreon tier. So same thing, just more options. You get the same hangouts if you join on YouTube or if you're here on Patreon. Just wanted to put that out there. Last question from Scott. How does Adam Savage do it? Guy never stops traveling. He has a crew. So he has a video team. He has staff in the shop. He has people working with and for him, and yeah, makes stuff a lot easier. All right, with that, again, thank you all for your support. Yeah, as always, this, what is it? Teamwork makes the dream work. Patreon and the YouTube memberships make this entire thing happen and keep me independent. And you know the story. So thank you all, and I will see you on YouTube and in the next one, roughly in 4 weeks or so, I guess. All right. Thank you all, and have a good day, have a good evening, have a good whatever, where you are. See you. How do I actually stop this stream without... So, here's the thing. With the other streams, when I've stopped the stream, it would actually stop earlier than when I hit stop here. So I think if I click stop now, it should be all right.